Oh,
sucks. Damn it. But
let's
yeah,
speed things along,
even a
then,
straight
guys.
call, couldn't hear him. Don't know. And if anybody knows sound, I would think he would be the one. He's as confused as we are. He has no clue because all this wouldn't affect us hearing him anyway. If it was our settings and shit, if it was my settings, which does my sound different? Are you hearing that weird noise you were hearing earlier?
No, to me, I think that weird noise
was him.
Yeah,
that's what I think too.
I think his settings.
Because I heard that weird fan sound while he and I were talking, and I was like, "Well, is that me?" And I muted my mic, and I could still hear it. So something on his end is definitely. Because I know when he and I were trying to get together and do some jamming, just as a personal call, he was like, "Yeah, I've got everything set up for recording right now. I'll have to set it all back up for calls later." Just like us fumbling around with all these things. He's got wires everywhere, I'm sure. So. He maybe just didn't cross the right T or dot the right I going back from recording to call.
Whoa.
I don't know. He had calls up. Friday he'll be here. Yeah.
Shall we give him the shout out he deserves? I mean, that was the purpose. It's wicked.
Well, yeah. Oh, he already said thanks for the shout out on the show this morning on TFR and all that. And I said, yeah, man, thank you for the music, brother. Lots of love because it's amazing. And we'll definitely play more as the show progresses for sure. I see that John perhaps has joined us.
Hello, yes I have. Yeah.
Hey brother, glad to see you here. Welcome.
Glad to see we're having our usual technical difficulties.
Dude, this is beyond the pale at this point. We are beyond pale.
It's starting to take the piss a bit, isn't it?
People could probably go over to Discord if they want to follow the link in the show description. Head on over to our Discord server and listen in that way because I do have that open and playing through there, so I think that should work if you want to listen that way if you don't want to listen on YouTube.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
I know, look at us go.
Well, I just heard that tune, that Norbz tune. That's awesome. Nice shout out there for IRM.
Yeah, wasn't that all right, so can you guys cover for a little bit? Looks like I'm going to have to go run my kid to work real quick. I should only be gone about 20 minutes.
I think the way things are going, 20 minutes seems nothing. We've killed 40 and not done anything yet. So, I tell you what, while you run, Josh, I'll say let's maybe just move the show along a bit. And we were going to have Zak on a little later after Norbz, weren't we, to do some of the stuff that he's been doing and we've been looking at and discussing and his current in terms of perspective. So maybe give Zak a shout out, mate. If you can shift your schedule along half an hour, that would be brilliant. And then hopefully by the time you're back, Josh.
I think that would be great. And at the very least, I know Martin Liedtke's in the chat too, so
yeah,
we could just totally rearrange our entire schedule that we set up 45 minutes ago.
I did say that to Martin. I had a quick chat literally minutes before we went on air. I says, I might need a quick favour, pal, because we can't get Norbz working. So he did kindly offer and said he'd help out if we're struggling. So.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to take off. The sooner I leave, the sooner I get back. So, geez, I don't know. Good luck is about the best thing I can say.
Just run. Leave the sinking ship. Run.
Go for it, Josh. We'll see you when you get back.
All right, toodles.
See you, pal.
So how's everyone doing then? Oh, sorry, I missed the start of it.
Well, we're doing all right. It's just me and you now, pal, because we seem to have lost.
Well, that's going to happen because apparently for some reason they decided to put the hang up button where the mute button used to be for me.
Getting better.
They like shifting things around, don't they? They like switching things up, you know.
To serve what purpose?
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Buying the next operating system.
Yeah, that's probably it. Get this one all flarked up and then put the new one out. Well, the good news, I guess not new, but interesting news, I see that Candy has actually been trying to set up something with Norbz as well, and she and he both keep having things get in the way of that interview, so it apparently is just something happening with Norbz. They're trying to keep his information away, man. That's crazy.
I can
It
understand.
was a good tune, that was, wasn't it, John? Did you enjoy that? Have you heard it before, or?
I've not heard it before. No. I listen to barely no music at all these days. So yeah, but I like someone was saying in his chat, you know, every word counts, and it's yeah, absolutely cool.
It's pretty
And when's
cool.
that being released?
Well, I was going to say it's out now, and if
Oh,
you
right.
go to the video I was playing there, he plays that one as the full track, and then he gives a little minute or so sample of each of the other tunes on the YouTube video.
Where can people see that?
If you go to his YouTube channel, Norbz World, you'll see it on there.
NORBZ
Yeah,
World.
that's it.
Uh-huh.
And he's got the track set, and I think he's asking the community to suggest 3 tracks that he kind of launches with as well. So
Okay.
I think might play a few of those little
How many tracks?
excerpts.
How many tracks did he put up?
11 or 12 volt. I'm not sure.
Wow, so a proper, full-on album. He was saying this the last time he was on. I'm just filling, obviously.
Well, we've lost Walt again, I think. Yeah.
And we've lost Norbz. Did we ever get Norbz on?
We kind of half had him.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't think he technically counts as having had him as a guest.
Right. Yeah, well, he's been on as a guest before, so technically he is an ex-guest.
While you're here, then, and we're filling, there's not so much filling. I've got a right bad. That sinus has kicked off again, John. So I went to bed about 2 o'clock last night. I finished watching. Oh, it was awesome. Finished watching Rampage with Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and
Is that a
went
film?
to bed about. Yeah, it was. I can't remember the old computer game, the old Spectrum game, arcade game, Rampage. So it was just a bullshit version of that. But point is, that's what I was doing till 2. So I went out at 2, and I'd been out, popping out anyway, and the sky was amazing last night, crystal clear, not a cloud in the sky, and I saw with my naked eye, you know, stars that genuinely aren't normally visible.
Oh yeah.
And I went to bed, and literally within 20 minutes, half an hour, my sinus has kicked off, and I've got up, kind of wandered downstairs and that, and thought I'm trying to get my nasal spray, and I've left it up in the shed. So I've come out again, and literally, it was no darker, mate, except you could tell the sun was heading this way again, if you know what I mean. So within an hour,
Because sunrise is about 4:30, 5 o'clock there at the moment, is it?
So within an hour, unless it got dark within that hour of me heading to bed, coming back down, you know, there was no dark last night.
Midsummer, I've been out at all hours up until sunset, and it doesn't get dark. There's always a glow on the horizon.
And the old chicken, the young chickens weren't up, but the oldest chicken was up, eating.
Yeah.
I thought it was bloody rats. I could hear something.
Did you? Have you ever heard that they don't advise people sleeping or being in direct moonlight for very long, and they even used to have signs on the decks of ships saying don't sleep under the full moon because people would have weird effects. I wonder if your chickens should be shaded under the full moon or whatever. I wonder if there's anything about that.
Coop.
Oh, right.
Coop.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Are you back?
Man, this thing has been ridiculous. Just on a note that I came in on, I read Pyramid Power, that book in the 70s that I think we've talked about before. And in that book, it talked about that in the military, they would do like practical jokes on each other, where they would take razors and put them in Moonlight, and it would dull the blades.
Really? How bizarre.
Yep.
I've heard it can do loads of things. I haven't tested it though, but I'd love to. Like degrading meat and things, making meat putrid, whereas the sun
Right.
dries it and preserves it.
Preserves. Right.
Bonfires as well. Bonfires are meant to be better under full moonlight, I think, or
That's what I hear.
worse. I can't remember. Someone could probably look that
No,
up.
it's supposed to be better in the moonlight and worse in the sunlight.
Right. There's not much that's positive, I find, about Moonlight. I don't know. And it's colder. And
And how
it's
can we
like,
prove that? Who has gone to great lengths to prove such a thing? I don't even believe that.
I don't know anyone that would be so stupid as to waste so much time in the go.
Did you do a write-up for that, Adam? Because if you did, then it should be on, at least on my blog and on IRM.
Well, I mean, the
Couldn't be asked,
presentations.
could you?
No, well, it's not that. It's not that. I like, you know me. I like a definitive conclusion. As I said, that those experiments were curiosity, and the reason I had so many variables in terms of different ways of trying to contain variables and see what effect that was a way of giving you clues to how to set up the next experiments. And it's not, for me, it's not worthy of writing up, if I'm being honest, because my own critique is better than I've received about it, if you know what I mean. And I probably
Room for improvement and repetition, maybe?
Yeah.
Since you've got all the kit, I mean, you've got these certified thermometers. Couldn't we come up with a really simple test that rules out the variables? I mean, the way I did it was, what was it? 2 thermometers in the moonlight, 2 thermometers in the moon shade. They were behind a solid object. They were on the same surface, so they were on, I think they were like concrete blocks. And then halfway through, I swapped them over and measured them again half an hour later, and then swapped them over again and measured them again half an hour later. And that was it. I mean, isn't that definitive? I mean, you could even, I was thinking of doing it again. I've done it 5 times now. Well, I was thinking of doing it again, but having it inside like inside a see-through box or something, so it was separated from the elements. Even these things were only half a foot apart, you know, but one was in the shade, one was in the thing, and I could only leave them out there for about half an hour before the shade would not be in shade anymore, you know, because the moon is moving. But something really simple like that, Adam.
Well, my critique of myself wasn't simple. It was to look at what the data I had got, which I was happy with, and to refine it even more. So I was narrowing down any other affecting parameters that could have occurred. So that was kind of more the purpose I was meaning is to really isolate and be able to compare with just very minimal speculation as to what the variables in the experiment are, because
also
obviously
Also, you lacked the video, which I can understand, because having done it 5 times, it's not easy to film, you know, without someone saying, you know, even if you point a torch at the experiment, someone's going to say, yeah, but that torch is going to heat it up, and all this sort of nonsense.
To be honest, John, what was this? A year or more, just over or so ago, wasn't it? Maybe a touch more. And to be honest with you, I wasn't back then aware that I needed to video it to prove that I weren't a lying scrote. Do you know what I mean? I am actually aware of that now, that if I was to present anything in any flat earth forum, it's required to prove you're not fraudulent. I mean,
bless your
the standard's been set. Oh, presentation of copious amounts of repetitive data, it seems a strange thing to be able to randomly forge. So it's never been required in my professional field to film myself while I was doing experiments. So to be honest with you, like I say, you're right, naivety, mate. But
well, no, it's something for the future, isn't it? I see we've been joined by Gudtims4all, or Zak Gudtins4all, if you prefer. How you doing, bud?
Welcome, Zach. We're glad to have you, my friend.
There you are.
Oh, he's saying 1 second.
1 minute. Okay.
I thought he was going to say
cool.
the sound is working.
I was going to say, if he comes in with no sound, I'm done. I'm out of here.
But yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, for me, John, it's about really isolating it, and the domes that I used, which gave me some great comparative data and data that, like the times you could see when it was isolated in the greenhouse that it was coming down, but on those evenings where I got the greenhouse temperature to come down to the ambient temperature and level with the in moonlight outside of the greenhouse, really, maybe, like I say, if I was going to critique it, I'd really want to isolate every single variable and nail it down to as more controlled than I ended up getting with the data. But that still, for me, doesn't negate
I agree.
the what the data showed, and it clearly showed.
No, your data was awesome.
It was.
And that graph, I mean, you swapped the thermometers over, and the graph,
yeah,
it swapped over. I mean, that's perfect as far as I'm concerned. But it needed a video simplification, a write-up, maybe a blog post or something along those lines that can just stand, you know. Hey,
well,
Zach.
The other... Are you back, dude?
Hey, how we doing, gentlemen?
Not bad, sir.
Better now that you're here, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you can hear me and everything's working. Awesome.
Have you done the Moonlight experiment, Zach? For yourself?
No, not yet. I'm still contemplating how I'm going to do it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to do it because I haven't even started on the moon yet. I started with the sun. I had to pick one. I tried doing both at first, and it's impossible to try and focus your attention on both of them at the same time and study them at the same time.
There's a lifetime in each of them, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So I haven't even started on the moon yet, but when I do it, I think I'm going to do it when the moon is as close as it can be, at the midpoint, as far away. I'm going to do it when it's half full, new, and try all the different ones. Even during the day, when the moon's out during the day.
Well, that was another one of the weird results I got, that actually with a fuller moon of itself, even though it's during the day, I got my biggest temperature variance. I don't know, where would the moon have been? It was up there, probably I think about 7 o'clock in the evening, but that was like broad daylight. The sun was up, but only obscured by my house, so the shadow of my house was blocking the sun out. And honestly, I got a monstrous difference there. That was the biggest one. It was towards the 1.5 degrees between the two probes, and then mine were only 12 inches apart, my probes, and hopefully the only real difference being that one was able to be exposed to moonlight. But yeah, in the daylight, I don't think it makes a difference, and that's why I say I want to kind of refine what my suspicions are from that crude data, if you know what I mean.
What are your thoughts, you guys, on the variations in weather in correlation with the phases of the moon? I mean, I've been tracking this for a while now, and it's been quite consistent up until this week where it looks as though it's coming into a full moon, and it looks as though we're having a heat wave, whereas before it's been quite predictable that when the full moon was coming, it was going to drop in temperature. I don't know if you guys have heard any research on that.
This is the first. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, right.
It might have to do with the sun actually being out longer than it every. I mean, we're right near the solstice this week, so that could have something to do with it.
Yeah, it is not a normal week, is it? It is the solstice week, so it'll be the sun for me will be rising in the northeast at around
This
about.
morning, Josh. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, carry on.
No, this morning, Josh and I were wondering if perhaps the solstice had something to do with what's going on with my ear, because it does seem to be something that hits me on a cycle. So I'm going to try to go back through text and figure out when the last attack was and see if it's, because these are crystals in your ear that are affected by things that, that's what vertigo is.
I think it's worth, and I should do this myself, but I think it's worth people keeping a journal or a diary and noting these certain things. These sort of things are so subtle that you miss them on a day-to-day basis. But if you had them as a header in your diary, then you may sort of at least. It's like starting a spreadsheet. I've been monitoring the temperatures and things with sensors around the house and that sort of stuff, and I miss the odd day here and there, but every day I sort of, I haven't put the sensor data in, have I? I go and put it in. It is really telling. I mean, it's so cool to have a log of, like people writing their dreams down and things like this, and it just makes a lot of sense to me, but it's something I don't do.
See, I've been contemplating this very thing for a while now about my alchemy and the experiments, like what happens and how I'm feeling, and keeping a journal of all these different things. And that's what the chemist inside me is telling me to do. Keep a journal, keep a log, keep a log. But then on the other side, the other eye, if you want to look at it, the spiritual side, the shaman in me is saying, you don't need any of that garbage. Just do what you feel. All plants are different. They'll tell you how they want it to be done, this and that, yada. So it's kind of a toss-up.
Because that reminds me of, these great alchemists, and they were voluptuous writers. I mean, they kept numerous notes. I do myself. I mean, I've never let a wasted printer paper go to waste. It turns into my notebooks, and there's more there than anyone's ever going to read, and it'll be a real bitch to burn them when I go, but there you go. But I love the one eye, two eye, sort of three eye perspective you were talking about last time you were on the show. That was absolutely amazing, and I from that I took and I it sort of dawned on me, not that it will dawn on anyone else or it's the right thing or not, but the one eye symbology we see from the elite on Time magazine, on all these ridiculous magazine covers and stupid photos of all these celebrities and idiots out there selling themselves for whatever shekels, but it's the one eye thing. And do you think that they're mocking us, saying you are the one-eyed and we're the three-eyed, or we're the two-eyed, or something? Whether this one-eye thing is a mock against us, or there's something else going on there? That's to you, Zach.
I'm not sure if it's them mocking us, the actual people taking the picture, or if it is the photographer and the people above them, the real people that are in charge.
Yeah,
that are actually mocking the actors and making them do this stuff, making the models
right
do this.
Yeah, I get you. It's like getting them to dress in drag and stuff like this. Is that you can't be famous until you do the drag strip. But I think clearly the mugs are the people that are buying the media, are the people that subscribe to Time magazine and these other clear media publications that are who are buying the music records and that sort of thing, where the guy on the front is circling their eyes, and to me that's sort of a poke in the face. What's that, Walt?
This was a birthday present this year. That's B.O.B.'s official album he released recently. There's been 2 or 3 since this. This isn't a mixtape. You tell me. Symbology?
Is there an eye on it?
No, not actually. I thought there was till I held it up to the camera. Apparently he's doing that in another picture somewhere.
But one of the things about the difference with B.O.B. is that
he's got his eyes blank. That's what he did on this album. It's not one eye. I knew he did something.
Whoa, give me a second, and I'll do it so you can present it. Just so hold it up again, both sides. Give me a sec, pal. There must be a quicker way of doing this, but
welcome back, Josh. Didn't crash the car.
There you go.
How we doing, Josh?
Oh, so what is that? Because I couldn't see it. What is that? An elephant? Ephalon?
It is an elephant with some kind of mask on and weird, like, I don't know what's going on here with the ears. These weird, like, almost looks like chromosomes splitting or something. I don't know what that is. And then the lightning bolts, we know there's symbology there. I don't know. And then on the back, that's where I knew he'd done something with his eyes. It was kind of like, what's that mean? I thought it was one eye, but apparently he's just completely blind. But this to me was his I have to make my deal with the devil album, because he had all these weird guests on here, that the music was very commercial. There were a lot of like ballady love song, ooh baby songs on here. Not what we were listening to on the Elements mix, for sure.
Anything about Foul Earth?
Oh yeah, he talks all kinds of truth on certain songs. Maybe every other song. Mm-hmm. There's one on here.
And is this one free to the public?
Oh no, that's what I said. When you're talking about people buying it, this was given to me as a gift. I didn't purchase it, but someone purchased it for me. So this wasn't free. This was his deal, real release, official with
sorry to interrupt Walt there, but we have been rejoined by the Josh Corey.
Welcome back, sir.
So,
I am
all right,
here.
bro.
The inner thing, more eyeball coverings and whatnot.
And this is not available free online, or
no, you will pay for this. I'll go listen to it free on.
Obviously, but it's different to the
it's
last
not like
album
mixtapes.
that was complete free. Okay.
No, this is.
That's quite interesting.
He's got CeeLo. He's got Usher on here. He's got Lil Wayne's on here. Big Crit, whoever that is. His buddy London Jay's on here. Young Thug. It's a commercial album without a doubt. I was kind of shocked when I was.
Who's the label?
It's his, no genre. Yeah.
So he funds it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone will have to. I haven't got my phone with me. Someone will have to text him and ask him what all the symbology means and get him on the show.
Yeah, I've tried.
It's been a while.
I've been working that so long now.
We've been blowing him off for ages. It's about time. We got him on.
Let him come on, finally.
No, I'm sorry. We've hopefully next week we've got Martin. Flat Earth British, so B.O.B. my arse. I'm more.
You'll have
I
to
went
wait.
to the Flat Earth conference to hear Martin speak about alternate history, so B.O.B. can wait.
Yeah, he'll have to wait. Martin.
I'll on that, guys. Hopefully next week we've got Martin.
I was hoping to speak to him on Wednesday.
Been busy, but I think he's.
I've been
equipped now so he can join us.
following
Hopefully he'll
his,
join us this Wednesday. Yeah.
his Star Fort stuff and Mud Flood stuff with huge interest. I'm getting feedback.
I'm getting terrible feedback. Is that better?
Is that me?
Could be. I don't know. Just try muting a sec. Is that better? I think so. Yeah, I think we're better now.
Don't really have a word.
So that's,
I can't hear any feedback.
yeah. So that again this evening, guys. That's not my fault.
Zachary.
Welcome to the club, Zach.
It's all right.
Is that
Your
better?
family now, for sure.
Right, definitely.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, there's loads I really want to talk with Martin about off air and to present next week, because it's we had a little chat today, and it's amazing how people can go down different routes and come to very similar but not identical conclusions, and when you just chew the cud just for a little bit, how certain things certain people say really clarify some of the stuff, really smack some stuff into alignment. And yeah, John, hopefully we can get him for a good few hours on Wednesday pre-show, and we can.
Well, this is what I loved about Martin's material is, when, I don't know what it was, about a year ago maybe, when the whole flat earth just went tits up and imploded with personalities and all sorts of other nonsense. It was a nice breath of fresh air to go to Martin's channel and just look at old pictures, old sketches and paintings and etchings, and just ignore all the crap that was going on. I know he was involved with it. I'm sure he didn't want to be, and he's also had a rough time this year too, so I gather.
Yeah, on that,
through
John, I'll tell you what, right? It's not just a rough time. He had the shittest of times, and the only reason I say that is he still got off his arse because he promised he was going to turn up to the Flat Earth conference, and turned up for everybody there, and didn't mope around. He put on a show. He was the most entertaining person there, and like I said, there was it's on YouTube somewhere, but he gets the room doing oggy, and oi. It was fantastic, an amazing guy, as a person, and
it's a sign of a battler, a sign of a survivor, a sign of
A warrior.
A warrior, yeah.
A man of intent.
Yeah, so hats off.
Yeah, and as he said to me, he was most pleased and to get both notice and also get confirmation from Eric Dubé that he wasn't on Eric's taking the piss list, which must mean something. We weren't there either, guys, which is nothing unusual for us. But shout out to Norbz on that. We got
yeah, I wish he could have got on. I love that guy.
Yeah,
He just brings so much energy when he.
I know, man. He's got something for sure when he brings it. And definitely next Friday he will be here. It is set. We will have a pre-show with him and make sure everything works. And I mean, just like you said, he had calls, we had calls. It just makes no sense.
It happened.
We pre-showed. We did a sound check. We made sure it worked before we went live. What are you gonna do?
And I feel bad. I haven't even looked at the chat today over there on our channel, man. I feel terrible. It's like, but I'm trying to stay focused on the show, and it's so hard. And then I feel like I miss people. And so hello to everyone in chat. I love y'all.
Hello to everybody there in Discord too. As you can see, I don't know what the hell
it's working.
in Discord.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I think they might be hearing stuff.
I have an invite. I'll accept it. Uh-oh.
So, whilst
Don't
we're
touch your computer, Walt.
Your invite may be a little outdated, Walt.
Uh-huh. Something's happened. It's going to break me. I better quit this. I better quit
yeah,
this.
I lost my invite, Josh, to Issa's Discord. Do they run out? Do they, these things?
They do. You can put a time limit on them. They're always a bit of a time limitation to them, regardless. But I think even his servers have a lifespan, so I think he rotates through periodic.
Shout out, Issa. Send me another link, dude. I've been enjoying diving in Nathan's stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's totally random and unplanned whenever I do out. So.
Yeah, he sent me one yesterday, and I didn't see it till today when
he sent you one, did he?
All gone. Well, it's already expired, so I can't use it either. So,
Now everyone's playing with Discord.
No, everybody's playing with Discord.
Walt is with his crunchy keyboard. I've got a squeaky
Damn
mouse.
it. I am so sorry.
And Walt's got like the loudest crunchy keyboard.
What is it I keep hitting that I think is mute? Oh, that's apparently now the sound button. Oh my God. I'm going to wind up saying something about somebody behind their back. I'm just kidding. I never do that. I can't believe this. Sorry. Where is mute? What are you doing?
You got it.
Well, I nearly got a segue in there. I nearly got a segue in. We got Zak on, didn't we? Because part of what we wanted to discuss this week is in relation to me chatting with Nathan and Riley and some of the stuff they're doing, and more importantly, the ball is a rolling, to use a phrase, with regards to perspective and all the numbers that us flat earthers have had rammed in our faces for the past few years. And I've seen it. The guys appeared on I think, was it Monday night on TFR again? Nathan's going to get his own show soon, isn't he?
He can't afford to. A4 is going to be all up in his butt if he tries to get a show on TFR. Then he'll be an official paid TFR troll.
I hope he does. I'd
love to see it. Yeah, that'd be great. I think he's on there.
Go hit up Billy Ray. Hit up Billy Ray. He'll put a good word in for you.
I'll hit up Chris Geo. See if Chris Geo wants to give him a show.
So,
I love Billy Ray.
Billy Ray's the man.
Yeah, he puts on a great for a 1 hour show. He just jams so much information into that 1 hour.
Yes, he does. Yes,
I always listen to it Monday morning on my way to work. That's my Monday morning way to work show. Because I'm always doing something Sunday night.
You're right. He jams so much in, doesn't he? He does it so fast, so quickly. And I can do it in a quick question. Have you sent in the toothpaste? Go, Joshua Corey.
No, I have not anything in the mail just yet, but I've got it all boxed up, ready to go out next week. All set.
I'll slow things up. His show's called Lifting the Veil, is it?
No.
Okay, I'll shut the hell up. I know it's on TFR though, but shout out to you.
Fringe. Yeah.
What the hell's Lifting the Veil then? Who's got that?
That's Chris Geo.
That's Chris Geo and Sharif Geo.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, all right.
You were close.
No, you guys
close.
Wrong.
You guys want to see my new toy?
I got
a new toy.
Yeah,
go for it.
Ooh, look at you.
Climate condenser.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
It's not a bong, people. Ooh, look at the coil.
Condenser. I want to hit.
Is that a coil in there? Oh, mate.
Is that a round bottom side on flask you've got there, Zak, as well? Oh.
I'm not sure. You'd have to tell me.
With the stopper, that is some nice glassware.
Ooh.
Are we getting glassware out?
$24 I paid for this.
I got something similar to that this week. It was called a ThermalStore, and it's a big copper cylinder full of big copper coils inside it, and it looks very similar to that, but unfortunately I can't show it to you.
I still
John,
need a
this is-
disclaimer. You guys screwed up the name of Chris and Cherie Gio's show. It's called Beyond the Veil.
Ah, for fuck's sake.
There's a channel called Lifting the Veil by a guy named Cullen Smith.
That is correct.
Way out there, but he's got some pretty cool info.
Yes, and I'm subscribed to Colin's channel. That's why it was in my head and connected. So
Is
Yeah,
that
sorry, both Chris
That-
and Colin.
is that the one? Sorry, let me just clear this up so that I can close off the get closure in my head. Is the Lifting the Veil the guy? He's like an archaeologist, sort of. No.
Lifting the Veil's got he'll be really skinny
Surfer.
guy, like long hair. Yeah.
Surfer guy, real law, and yeah, he's into a whole bunch of things.
Right. While you're doing that, Zach, will you hold that flash back up? I'll put you on
Yeah.
big screen so I can see it properly. Let me
And I have-
transition. So,
I have a few questions I would like to ask you sometime, Adam, about what I can use for.
oh, it's fucking hell, it is. That's proper. So you need a water inlet at the top there, yeah. And then at the
The
bottom,
other one
it's
at
going
the
to
bottom.
pour into the sink. You want cold water going through there. That is something beautiful, man.
Isn't it?
How much was
Only
that?
$24.
Oh
Yeah.
my god! It is.
I
It's
got
a
it.
proper round bottom side on flask. That's
Yeah, I
one,
got it
That's the
straight
one
from the
piece of
distributor.
equipment I want, mate.
24.40, I think it is. Are those the for the fitting sizes or whatnot? Yeah.
You got your Vaseline.
No, I should put Vaseline
it
in.
up. Yeah, Vaseline
Okay.
it up, even when you're pissing around.
Thank you.
Just,
I won't even put it back together again. I'll put Vaseline on it before I do.
You should always keep a little Vaseline handy, just in case.
just hold that up. Hold up the Liebig condenser. I know it's a little beauty, isn't it?
Coconut oil's much better though, Josh.
That is something really nice. Look at that. A nice little dropper for your distillate.
I can't wait.
Yeah, lucky man.
Yeah, it just showed up
$24.
Yep.
That is a lot of work for $24, surely.
But I had to wait. God, it took 2 months.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's a lot of. I mean, imagine. What
Trying to
do
make that?
machines make this thing, or do
Yeah, that's
humans
not-
make it?
No, I'm sure that's a machine.
Right, fair enough.
It'd take a lot of work to hand blow it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think probably just for uniformity's sake, especially on a round bottom flask, you would probably want to have it done by a machine.
Hey up, Adam's on the move. What you got, Mr. Meekin?
And let me just share the screen then, so everybody, because this was the other thing I love, which I've not fully used yet, but this is just another lovely bit of glassware that's really good for
Ooh, that looks like
for
Schulberger.
separating out. Well, if you're trying to separate out layers, because it's so conical, you can really, and it's got a beautiful tap on the bottom there. Look,
That's beautiful. Wasn't that design like it's almost like an egg design of Schulberger? Is it Schulberger? Anyone know who I'm talking about? The water guy who made funnels, and he made them into those sort of shapes, and he made log runs, and I'll probably balls the name up completely, but maybe someone in chat knows who the hell I'm talking about.
just gonna go and hang her back
Victor
up. So.
Victor Schauberger, something like that. That's beautiful, Adam.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to have a whole. It's going to look like Dr. Frankenstein's lab in here.
You've got to let me get some.
You just need to get a female astronaut in there. You
Don't forget the pigeons, Zach. You need lots and lots of pigeons around
I
you.
built a little.
Tesla was surrounded by pigeons.
Sorry, but I built a special little holder for her on the wall there because.
It's alright, Adam. We'll give way. Just shout at the camera.
It's a snazzy shirt you're wearing, though. Ed. Your style.
I was.
Where can I get one of these?
I'm back. There you go. The other bit I always think that's important, just for basic pissing around, is just some like a nice evaporating basin and a decent conical measure just for all sorts of dicking around.
Well, since you mention it, handy for taking a quick leak into. Since you're pissing around with it and dicking around with it, it's just about the right size, isn't it? About half a litre.
That's what I did. You know, when I was doing those sterility testings of it, that's what I used. I pissed in that just to see if there was any the rate of microbial growth. You know, and there was all that drinking piss is dirty presupposition.
No, I haven't heard that. What are you on about?
Well, apparently, a lot of Christians use some strange text which actually advocates the drinking of piss from the Bible, and presuppose that what God actually meant was that it's evil, and you're basically bum licking the devil if you.
So I think what God was trying to say here actually was, I'm sorry, I just don't understand the frickin' balls of some people.
No, they all got it wrong. Here's what God really means.
What's that you're drinking, Adam?
Piss, French wine. No, it's not. It's tonight, gentlemen. I've got it's a New Zealand Pinot Gris.
I'm sure
Very
there was
nice.
a YouTube channel where a guy would just sit down and start drinking and quaffing about his wine.
Oh, check this shit! Aromas of honeysuckle and mango.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Ripe flavours of melon, yellow pear, not your average pear, a yellow pear. It's not like pear, it's a yellow pear, and a twist of spice. Sounds like a deodorant.
When you give up smoking, you'll actually smell all of that, apparently.
I taste it. It's fine.
So you can tell the honeysuckle from the spices.
If I'm being honest, not really.
To the parts per million.
If they were being honest.
Yeah.
So Zach, what's your tipple at night time when the sky goes dark?
Well, I don't consume alcohol anymore. So
Since when?
Sensible.
the last time I had a drink was last year when my little brother graduated college. So last April or May, something like that.
Are you feeling benefits or losses?
Oh, yeah.
Or, yeah?
Well, no, yeah, I had a problem with alcohol. I enjoyed it a lot once I started consuming it, and I had trouble stopping.
I think that's the problem. Not the
Why
problem.
is that a problem?
I think that is the characteristic of alcohol, isn't it? It's I like that. It's like chocolate or ice cream or something. It's you don't want to put it away because it's nice and people like nice. But yeah, no. I mean, I don't. I'm being flippant about what could have been a problem.
But no, I really quit because I wanted to quit smoking cigarettes. I had smoked cigarettes for 17 years, and I had tried to quit multiple times, and I had managed for months. I quit one time. It was like 4 months, not a cigarette. Then I went to the bar, thought I'd be fine. Woke up the next day, had 3 cigarettes left in a pack there, and I really wanted one real bad.
Always started with a cigar for me. It was like, well, a cigar, it's not a cigarette, is it? And I'll only have one a night, and then it's 10 cigars a night, and hell, I might as well go back and smoke cigarettes. But yeah, I think 4 months was the most I did. Sorry, Josh.
Why don't you shut up? I'm onto a pipe now. So.
I'll shut up. You know my advice.
Whilst nobody's been looking at chat, I had a quick little peek there. Shout out to Karen. Right, I got
just
trolled.
went back too.
I got trolled today. I went on Nathan's show, and Karen was in. All I wanted to say was thank you for all your fantastic wrench work for us in person. I know we've done it, and I still didn't get to say it. And so another shout out. There's another show we must do is get Karen B on. But yeah, so I got booted today. I got trolled out of Nathan's thing, and he can't get back in again, which was gutted because I enjoyed that today. And wow, what an amazing segue there, Mr. Meakin. I want to show guys, I started about, what was it? I think it was about 17 minutes ago, saying why we was bringing Zak on. And it worked because it was so good the other week. We wanted to continue and carry on where we left off because we could and fill another show. But it was relevant in terms of perspective work. And we'd mentioned Nathan getting around the community, the different channels, and most importantly, the message getting around all the different channels. And I know that David Weiss bothered to make an appearance on Nathan's show and kind of just turn up just to air support, and D Marble did the same. And I think the message is getting out there, and there is a clear community. I know we talk about it, and it might be simple for ballers to ridicule it, but there is a community out there, and we're starting, I think, this week or past 2 weeks, on the back of Anthony's and Nathan's work and Ranty's work, to do some positive work as a community instead of bitching and moaning and making obscene accusations about each other because my God says it's exactly like this, or I think it's like this because I found out this was wrong. We're starting to realise that we can all be right, wrong to different degrees, and realising that if we actually pull together, we can. I'll use the phrase again. Really get the big baller rolling, and get it moving, and get some momentum behind things. And it's been, and I might sound a bit weird, but it's been heartwarming this week to see the repetition within the different channels. And I put a call out to some of the other channels that are still out there. Maybe you guys could step up and keep the cause and keep the flame alight, because I think it really is a worthy cause. It's not just somebody stumbling on something. It's proving that, like I said, every time we've had some numbers, and I'm a numbers guy, thrust in our face, they've got to backtrack. It's nonsense what they're talking, you know. So with that in mind, if you give me a second, guys, to fill in, I just kind of want to pull up some pictures that I kind of initially shared with Anthony, which kind of helped him realise that the thing that he'd just instantly verbalised one show and it had become clear to him, no one else had understood. We'd had a good chat afterwards, and I shared the taboo conspiracy stuff, because it's stuff that we kind of all knew, and had said. I'd said a number of times that when I did my curvature calculator, that it needs amendment to be used in any of the photographs, and it was trying to put and build perspective in. And I think from an ego point of view, it's been quite good listening to Nathan's stuff, realizing and bothering to kind of drill down in terms of the implications of the calculations that are required, because it isn't just some cockamamie single line of sight or looking through a straw, as it's kind of euphemized towards, or taking the top and bottom. It's a hell of a lot more complex than that, and it requires relative distances between whatever you're looking at to be calculated. There isn't a single calculation, there's multiple calculations. And for me, the complexity of it and the way it's been simply portrayed by the ballers and is the level of complexity is the only way I can see you can actually do any of this maths properly is with the way Chris Monk does it in Blender. I don't think there is a realistic way of being able to perform a simple calculation that elicits a number that we're all after. yeah, that's my rant over with. If you give me a second, guys, I'll try and line it up and maybe just exemplify the point as opposed to extol it.
I don't know if it was the Tim Osman off-air video that they just put out, or maybe it was one of their live shows I caught. But I heard somebody out there hollering for some flat Earth curvature calculations, and nobody said a damn. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I know a guy.
We're infamous.
No, there is no such thing. It's a double negative. How can you have a flat Earth curvature calculator, you boner?
And just on that note, we're still waiting for the front end. We're still waiting for the Excel spreadsheet front end, or whatever crap website or calculator front end GUI, where you can just put in what your height is, what the observer height is, what the distance is, and comes up with a little calculator based on Adam's formula, which is perfect.
My formula, thank you. It is. And actually, if you look at Metabunk's stuff outside of all the bullshit that's there, it's pretty much the drop value. I still think mine's more accurate, but
well, I say perfect. It's perfect on a ball that is 10,040 kilometers in. I want to say 10,020.
Oh, I don't know now.
No. 40,000 came out at the point blah blah.
40,000.
You did it 40,000 and something or other, and it came out at dot blah 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 blah.
Yeah, because if you do it at 40,000, it's 0.009, isn't it? Which is nice numbers, pretty numbers.
Yeah, and a number they quote.
Right, before I go too far off track, if I share screens with you guys, why has that crashed? Oh, there we go. We're sharing screen. Cool. Just give me a second. Share it with everyone else. So you can say,
So we also need the capability on your maths to put the observer height, which is pretty simple as far as I'm aware. You just extend the radius of the into the original equation. But yeah, if anyone's got who knows what they're doing has got a spare 10 minutes to
it's part of the bullshit that is, John. I've distracted myself and I won't be able to do this for a sec, but that's part of the bullshit. Is they're still never allowing you the observer to be looking dead ahead of themselves. It's all a scam. It really is.
We've always known that, though, haven't we? And as flat earthers, we've always given the ballers the benefit of the doubt. We've always given them refraction. We've always given them bendy light. We've always given them the atmosphere. It's never the ballers giving us the fact that refraction can go up as well as down. We've always given them the advantage, and now we're calling that advantage in because it's so damn obvious that we live on a stationary plane. Now we're starting to hold their feet to the fire on things like perspective and things getting smaller in the distance as well as dropping off the curve. These are the things now that we're honing in on, and I think it's great.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
The laws of. I just want to see if it's. Somebody's quiet tonight, huh? The dog.
Oh yeah. 50-pound lapdog.
I can't see my screen on the presentation screen. I'm not sure.
This is an illustration.
We can see mountains, and this is an illustration. Yeah.
Yeah, you can, but I can't see it on YouTube.
Well, that doesn't matter as long as you tell us
That's
every
kind
week.
of
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you're looking at. We can see it.
I know.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
I don't know why it won't share anymore. That's pretty annoying. Right. Well, rather than pointlessly struggle on, Josh, if you just bear with me, if I do a quick workaround, guys, give me 2 seconds, Josh. I'll send you the pictures if you share them with me. For some reason, Skype's just gone. Do lally. So if you bear with me, pal, and then I'll send them you. If you stick them up, then I'll just kind of make the point, and then I can finally get to the point of what Zach's kind of discovered.
Who's that, Zank? Zank. Who's that, Zach, with you? Is that Hank?
Yeah, that's Hank. Hank.
See, I can't remember any people's names, but I can remember Hank.
I'm the same way. If you tell me your dog's name, I'll remember it forever. But people, I'll remember your face forever if I meet somebody. But
yeah,
your name, that's probably going to come and go unless I meet you multiple times.
It's literally goes in, I would say, 2 seconds with me. Hi, my name's... Okay, that's forgotten.
Yeah, you could ask me 10 seconds later and I'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I heard what you said. I was listening.
Yeah, exactly the same. But it is it's strange if someone says, this is my dog, Hank.
Oh, I remember the dog's name.
Yeah, because it just looks like a Hank or something. I don't know.
Can I be a sentimental bastard? Are we going to give him a proper send off? So in a few years, when we do listen back to this, John.
What for those who are listening? That today was a shitty day.
I'll do it for you, but let's give him a send off. So today, John's good friend passed away. He's been having a tough time with the poor lad, and he's supported him through it. But today was the final day that John said goodbye to a good friend. I'll let you say goodbye to him, but yeah, they're the best, aren't they? The dirt dogs. They can, they'll do out for you. A dog, as far as I'm aware, will do absolutely anything for you. He'll take a kick in the head for you. The only thing they won't do is kind of pretend that fart was theirs. In fact, you often get blamed for theirs, don't you? But...
Yeah, no, cheers. Yeah, it's a sad day for me, and a happy day as well. There were so many silver linings to the day that the day I dreaded, which was having to put my mate to sleep. And yeah, I got wicked feedback, so I'll leave it there. It's a shitty day.
Yeah, I would say it was probably one of the hardest days of my life. And I've been through some crappy stuff, but having to do that, John, I'm sorry, man. I know it's rough.
No worries. It really did work out well in the end. He was, he was 14 and a half years old.
Yeah, so you did the right thing.
He was over 100. Well, yeah, it is. That's the tough thing, is that
That's what I'm
you know
saying.
you did the right thing, but it was still your decision to do it. And you know, he could be here tonight, and I'm not going to dwell on this because I'm going to well up. But
I don't.
I've been over it 100 times in the shed, made notes, all the rest of it, and yeah, I know that it's what I would have wanted him to do for me if I was in the same situation for him. And I know he wasn't in pain and he wasn't distressed or anything. He fell asleep in my arms, and he didn't even flinch when the needle went in. So he was deaf, he was blind, he was completely staggering all over the place. He had no balance to him. He was going off his food. He was drinking like nothing else, and didn't have the energy to cock his legs, so he's sort of peeing on his foot and stuff. I mean, he had a beautiful, happy life, and the boys said goodbye to him this morning. I had a gut instinct. We brought him to a homeopathic vet about an hour away, and I had a gut instinct that well, I mean, I spend every day, every hour with the guy. I knew something had changed, so yeah, it all worked out for the well, but yeah, it doesn't make it any easier. But yeah, there you go. Rest in peace, Casper. We love you. We miss you.
Night, pal. Right, moving on. Okay. All right, pal. Josh, if you just maybe go back to the perspective shot. That's it, and I'll transition. So, oh, you've welled me up, you bastard. You're all right, John. Are you there?
Yeah, I am, mate. Yeah. Sorry,
honestly, I
didn't
carry on. I just need
didn't
to
I didn't mean to make you feel bad, but no.
Hey, no, it wasn't bad. It's anyway. Right. So perspective. All that bollocks. So to kind of summarise for me these pictures that. Again, shout out to Taboo Conspiracy. I was trying to expect what's the best way to explain it, and I thought I'll have a quick back look through Taboo stuff, because that was the kind of thing that I'd shown Anthony. Well, yeah, the point you're making is exactly in one of Taboo Conspiracy's vids, and it's these pictures that really, for me, help you comprehend what we're asking them to do and why their direct line of sight calculations aren't relevant. And the most fundamental thing is that things get smaller as they get away from you, from a angular size or how you view them, whether that's your eyes or a photo. And this kind of picture kind of exemplifies it. And if we're working on a desktop and we wanted to test it, it would work beautifully along those lines. And if we try it in real life, it works beautifully as well. So the point is, if we are on a ball, then this image in front of us and the math we would use isn't representative of reality. So let's just for a second imagine we're on an imaginary ball. Can we go to the slide, Josh, the next one, and kind of change the image? Sorry, the one before. The other bally one. That's it. So that, and this isn't, I've heard it on Nathan's show, this isn't an orthographic image. This is a kind of visual representation for me to demonstrate the maths that's required. So when we just look at the shrinking mountains, it tells us that, first of all, we need to apply angular size reduction and take that into account when we're analyzing the data through the first person perspective point of view. And what the ridiculous curvy dome shows is it's trying to say, well, if you are on this kind of topography, then you also need to take into account the shape of what you're now putting it on, because it's no longer flat. So it really is, and this is the point that we've heard all the ballers mitigate for me, that they're trying to flim-flam their way round and only show, well, basically curvature drop, and they're trying to say that angular size reduction isn't relevant, and in some calculations it isn't. But if you are if the data you're analyzing is a photograph which actually builds into the data itself, it suffers angular size reduction, for want of a better word, then you do have to, when you extract that data out, for me, take into account the effect of angular size reduction. And as I said, I think that's a shed load more complicated than it first appears. So if you just go to the last slide, Josh. Now, there's a further consideration that it's kind of started to come out in Nathan's show today as well. That's, and when I say it's a lot more complicated to work out, every measurement from A to B, where C is in the middle, so in this case the bulge is in the middle, or a different set of hills which hold a certain height, all of these considerations for me need to be built in with regards to what you should be seeing and what you can see and what should be hidden, because this perspective, as you can see, look, the third mountain might be very small, but only a small, well, none of it, even the bottom of it, can hide the fifth mountain and all of it. So this double effect of both angular size reduction and then the actual modeling it onto a ball has a even more profound effect, and that's why for me all the ballers are so scared. And I think Josh is most up to date with the flat earth debate, aren't you, Josh? They've tippy-toed around it, tried to bring in other subjects, antagonized Darwin, all sorts of stuff this week in a vain attempt to avoid discussing this. And in the words of an early morning at TFR, Adam ran over. Thanks, guys.
But there's no way this would work on an azimuthal equidistant projection. Your AE map is bunk. Yeah, but angular size decrease.
Yeah, I always took that into account because I was trying. I wasn't measuring the curve. I was measuring the flat plane and how much I was missing from the bottom up. That's all I was interested in. I knew there was no curve. I wanted to know why I was missing the bottom. That's what kind of sent me on my whole journey to look at the actual reason.
Adam, would I be sort of right in saying that what they're saying is that on curvature calculators, say, that we use, or Metabunk if you use that or don't use that, they don't take into account angular size reduction over distance. They just take into account curvature over the Earth. They're keeping basically in the slide you're showing, they're keeping the mountain the same size. Is that right?
Yeah. So they are only allowing the mathematics to be calculated through an orthographic projection. So all of the numbers and assumptions are calculated through that orthographic projection, which is third person. So there are lines, direct lines that they draw, and this hidden value is the line of sight as it hits the midway point as you create the arc tangent between the observer and the target. And so that's the value they're talking about. Now, what we're saying is that hump is correct. It will, if you are on an imaginary ball, obscure the target. But the point is, actually, the hump is half the distance away of the target. And your maths is calculating the hidden height of the target based on them both having the same real height, or the heights you use are the real heights. What we're saying is, from the picture that you're analysing, you have to take into account the angular size reduction of the target, and also where the hump is is in relation to the target. Now, obviously, the nearer the hump to the observer, then the smaller the hump has to be to obscure all of the target.
I got you.
As in, if you're on a table and you've got a pint jug at one end, how far? All you have to do with a half pint jug is pull it towards you, and pretty much halfway across the table, that half pint jug will obscure all of the pint jug. It's a World Cup analogy. Do you like that? Sports ball, John. Sports ball.
Yeah, perfect perspective. What's been happening in your sports ball?
I'm not doing it. Because it's.
Where's Rob when you need him?
It's a ferret Friday. Yeah, there's no Rob.
It's a what Friday?
A
Ferret.
Ferret.
I think with the way Gav's looking at stuff, that we can actually find a minimum to how much will be cut off of things in the distance at a certain distance. It may not be what is viewed, because atmosphere comes into play when visuals are involved over long distances, and trying to figure out atmospheres, actually, it's impossible because it changes. So it's like a fluid.
I quite like the idea of them analysing our eyes and our the makeup of our eyes, and reverse engineering the horizon to exactly match our eyes, so that they've got us checkmated on almost all fronts. I quite like that idea, and I think that I heard that from Jaren. I'm not sure, but yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Well, yeah, 10 miles away, the observer height is of 5 feet. The cutoff would be 35 feet of the shore, and the angular resolution at that distance limit is like 34 feet or something like that. So, I mean, it's right there. I mean, they knew what they were doing. They took what your eye perceived and just reverse engineered it, just like you said.
Actually, did you just mirror a video about that? And you were on the video? Sorry if I'm being a complete ignoramus here.
No, we've had Zach on today. Now we can.
That is the point.
So
was it an hour it took us?
The worst damn segue ever.
Tell us about that, Zach.
That was
Yeah,
super
it's,
interesting stuff I've seen.
Shit, that was
Oh.
smooth.
Gav and Glen have put in over a year's worth of research, and I think they cracked it. They figured it out, like who did it, when it was done, how it was done. It's all, our eye is a sphere, and we live on a plane. And they switched it around and put us on a sphere and made us think that we see in a planar view. But actually, our eye being spherical itself, the sensor being spherical, in the back, it has that arc to it. It creates, there's even little experiments you can do yourself. If you take a little cube or something like this, and you hold it right up to your eyes, start bending it around a little bit, you can start bending all the lines in it. You can make them curve different ways. Because your eye is spherical.
Yeah, I was going to say I always remember back in the day, one of Jaron's first videos talking about why we see celestial objects as spheres was when he took his telescope out and suddenly looked at cars in the distance that they were looking more rounded and stuff. And that point was that the equipment diverts the straight lines of light, photons, whatever, as they enter the eye, and actually condenses them, and by doing so creates that curved effect. And as you say, Zach, the eye does exactly the same thing. That's the way it collects light.
Yeah, it's really I can't believe I overlooked it. I did all that research and I just quit like right before I should have figured that out. I never went back that far. I found that, the diffraction line that creates the horizon, and I thought I was done. I thought, all right, I got it. But nope. They figured out why, the top comes down and the bottom goes up, and
you were perfectly done as far as I was concerned when you showed the sun setting on a flat plane. That was it. As far as I was concerned, that was the mirror band in effect, and there's your sunset. Suck it up. But then I thought the same about my gyroscope experiment. But yeah.
Actually, Zach, you've had a few. That's just jogged my memory. You've had a good few shout-outs from Anthony Riley past day or two as well with regards to your warehouse experiments.
Oh yeah, that's how
well,
me and Anthony met. Yeah, we talked about those for a good 6-7 months. We were on about trying to figure that out. That's when I was doing a lot of that research with the angular resolution limit and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, he helped me out a lot. We did a lot of collaborating, a lot of just, I'd wake up in the morning and have an idea, and he'd already be up because he lived, across the pond by you. At 4 in the morning, I just give him a call. Hey, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's always good to have somebody just throw ideas off of.
Who's that Anthony you're talking about, is it?
Yeah.
All right, good stuff.
Top bloke. Shout out to Tony. You're right, pal.
Oh, yeah.
It's always nice to have someone to talk to at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when the spaghetti in your head starts really flowing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to get it out there.
Absolutely.
So you don't forget. I don't write anything down. It's that shaman in me that just says, you'll remember when you need to. Don't worry about it.
That's the
I got so many different journals and whatnot I bought. I got one for the moon. I got my one for the sun. I got one for electricity experiments. And the only one I've ever put anything in is my sun one. When I was collecting the sunspot rotation. And I was just checking to see if the U.S. Naval Observatory was correct.
Hey, don't worry about it. I made all those tinctures and never even bothered filtering the crap out of them. They just sat there for 5 years.
That's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to run my tinctures through it and separate them again, and then combine them all back again. And
That's cool.
hopefully,
Can you talk
yeah.
us through how that thing works? Or did you do that already?
No, it's pretty much. I don't want to put together, but put your. They say. I think they said to use water with your vegetable, and you cut it up in here, and you put a heat underneath it, and it'll start evaporating, and the water will come up here with they say the oil will collect around the droplet. And you'll collect the water and the oil at the bottom of this, and it'll leave the alcohol and the salt in this one, and you can then stop this off and let it ferment for a while, and then you can get the alcohol out of there just by separating them.
So just looking at that coily
it's a lot
thing.
more. It can be a lot more surgical than that, Zach.
Yeah.
If you start off, you need to know what you're putting in there and what you're trying to extract and what its boiling point is. But if you're very careful, you can have a good idea. Take away the lower boiling point stuff, whether that's the alcoholic solvent that you dissolve stuff into to get it in there. Take that away first by keeping the temperature low, just at its boiling point, and then actually raise it to the temperature of what you're wanting to take out. Water will carry some of it because its latent heat will carry some of those things and it will carry up the tube. And you can really even start to segregate out some of the different molecular weighted alkaloids that will get in the plants. Some, like with cannabinoids, where you've got the THCs, the lighter, smaller terpenes compared to the much heavier, more lipophilic, body-based cannabinoids. You'd be able to separate even certain components of the plants out with that, even though it's the cutest little diddiest thing I've ever seen. It's so pretty.
I love it. And just for anyone who's new to the show, our shadowed, silhouetted man with a white fluffy cat there is actually a licensed pharmacist, physician, PhD teacher, etc., etc. So he's not talking out his arse. Just sort of say that.
You got a PhD, Zach?
No, I never went to college. I have a high school diploma. But
Probably making you the less indoctrinated of most of us.
well, I think that's why Gav picked me to be one of the people to kind of take a look at it. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't have any clue what's going on with perspective, but I was never formally educated.
But
Everything I did was self-taught.
what was Tesla's formal education?
True.
And Darwin and Newton and etc., etc.
Aristophanes. He was just a librarian, but he proved that
I think he was a name that someone made up that was deliberately, how can we make up a name that no one could pronounce, spell, or anything else? And the guy didn't even bleeding exist. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of people are saying the whole Roman Empire was made up.
Yeah, totally.
All of it. Just a story.
Can you talk us through the theory of that? Because that's new to me. Well, ish, but...
No, that's just what I've heard. I haven't really delved into it. That's more Martin Liedtke's type of delving into history. The way I look at history is it's all just a story. I mean, Napoleon said it, supposedly, according to history, right? Who knows? But history is...
Dirty history erasing bastard that he was, Napoleon.
It's what did he say? I forget. Quote.
Well, generally beyond, three
History is written
generations, it's no one can verify anything really beyond, 3 generations, or if you know your great grandma, or that's about as far back as it goes.
So we see how far back are you willing to go then, guys? That history is, and I'm not saying details of the Second World War. Let's not go anywhere near that. But in terms of relative history, how far back would you say you're comfortable with that it holds a relevance to the real history?
What time?
100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 years. What would you say that's reliable, or at least vaguely relevant?
I'm saying stuff that is in history books today, taught to elementary kids about stuff that happened less than 20 years ago, is false.
Say that again.
I'd say less than 10 years ago. I'd say you could go back 10 years, and the stuff that they're teaching kids about what happened 10 years ago in history is false. It's propaganda and lies.
Well, my kids were taught that like these 2 freaking huge concrete skyscrapers were brought down by these like jets.
Yeah.
I'll bring you back right to I mentioned rambling, and Ethan had a go at me for say, because I always claim I only watch Marvel movies, but this Rampage movie was pretty marvelly. It was just like trash, good quality trash. And in that, there's a one of the monsters, a like giant alligator thing, weaves in and out, wiping out huge layers of all the building as it goes up. And it requires a good 20 minutes of action for the building to even topple. Yet 2 hollow aluminium tubes flying at speed. So history is nonsense. I agree. I was meaning more.
Yeah.
You're more pertinent, Zach, to be honest with you. You're more pertinent, mate.
Like you said, I don't know. I couldn't even go back to, even like Vietnam, stuff like that was, why anything really happens, we're not taught these things. We're taught the show. It's like a movie, You could either know what happened in the movie, or if you really want the real truth, well, good luck finding that. But for people like me and you, we're shown the show. The stage is the world's a globe, right? The globe theater, and the world is a stage.
Yeah, I'm much the
everything
same.
We're shown. Yeah, it's all nonsense. Everything that we're shown.
I can't even date Stonehenge in the UK to beyond 100 years ago. It's been worked so many times. It's meant to be thousands and thousands of years old. I've no idea about it. Dinosaurs completely up in the air. I can go down the Jurassic coastline and pick up fossils, but I'm not picking up T-Rex heads or giant fangs and diddly little arms and all this sort of stuff. It's I don't know. I've got memorabilia that dates back to the 1800s, so I'm pretty sure we've been around for at least 400, 500 years, but quite honestly, before that, I don't know. Although the megalith sites and the sort of Roman ruins and that sort of thing, they show signs of aging. They show signs of aging, like the Sphinx or whatever. But who's to say whether the Sphinx was put up 150 years ago as a giggle? We have no idea.
You're saying 500 years then, John?
I'm saying it's likely to be tied in to when they pressed the reset button and told us the Earth is a ball and you're ridiculous if you ever thought it wasn't. So I will go by their clock and sort of say 400 or 500 years ago, but who the hell knows?
I'd say 1600s, the Renaissance, when they had their, their explosion of science and history and all these rewriting of all these great books and all this stuff.
I'd say 1666 is probably a pretty good date. Was that the Fire of London or the Great Plague or 1666? It was the Cestui Act from the Roman Empire, the Pontiff, the Vatican, 1666. That was when they brought out the Cestui Act, wasn't it? Where they basically said if you didn't declare yourself a living being within 7 years, then you were essentially chattel, dead, and their property. And Adam, you know about the Cestui.
Yeah, I would.
I can't say it a third time.
It was done eloquently all times there, John. I was impressed. I think that time, that particular contract, for me, ushers in the age where they attribute to that. I would say 1700s. I think it's all made up until then, anyway, and that's when they start to define it. But like with that contract, it's indicative that that's the sort of thing that comes into effect, and it's very Babylonian in contract, isn't it? It's and for me, that's the point, that maybe that's the turning point, the 1600s, where whatever society was in Europe, and America's particularly interesting with its destruction of all of its cities, that seems to happen all the way across America in the 1800s as the Tartarian Empire collapses. It's this influx in the 1600s that I think, as you see in that document, exemplify an influx and a change in culture and paradigm, where something like that act is necessary to redefine a way of being, almost a bit like the UTC code.
Yep.
Ramble 10 ended.
Any thoughts on this, Zach?
I don't know.
More positively, what I'm alluding to there, Zach, is that maybe a shorter time ago, because I don't want to get into too deep, really, into it, but maybe a much, much shorter time ago. I think a lot of people, in terms of alternative history, would read the Bible and understand that I'm sure the Bible says that it's 1,000 years after the crucifixion that Jesus will be coming back, and there's a lot of alternative history, most fundamentally flamenco stuff, that postulates an additional 1,000 years at least in our current understanding. 1700s, Newton's questioning chronology. It's a current theme, and I think the point of all of this is that there clearly was a much more advanced civilization that encompassed pretty much what we know of the world today. Do you know what I mean? And it's this engulfment of this Babylonian culture that's eradicated our true history, has enforced a ball upon us to further twist and pervert our understanding of reality.
I'll tell you what, before you go any further, before I forget anyway, ironically, I'm reading the book of Adam and Eve at the moment, which is a sort of forgotten Book of Eden sort of thing, and
is that the Standing in Rivers one?
It's got that in there, yeah, without
Yeah,
a
yeah,
doubt.
that
I mean, I've got a lot to say about it, but one thing that just struck me that I need to say before I forget is is their testimony that they need to be on the earth for 5,500 years. Initially said you need to be there I think it's 5.5 days or 5.5 hours or weeks or something, and then Adam's like, what the hell are you talking about, 5.5, okay, I'll do 5.5, and he's like, no, 5.5 days equals 5,500 years. And anyway, I've got a lot to say about the book, because I'm reading it quite diligently, and it's interesting. But 5,500 years came up, and I understand that young Earth proponents are of the mindset that Earth is about, or at least humans, man, has been about for 6,000 years, and the Earth may have been around for 10 to 12,000 years, and this stands up to sort of testing as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd get that in there.
Have you got to the point where they see the sun for the first time while they're on Earth?
Yeah, and nighttime
Terrified.
for the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's wild to think about something like that, to actually be, a grown person and to have never seen darkness. The place where you came from, it never got dark before.
That's what they say. They describe the garden as being a place where they didn't feel cold, they didn't feel hot, they didn't experience light or night. It was just always that they were light. They weren't flesh. They were sort of. They weren't hungry. They weren't thirsty. They weren't anything that we sort of feel today. And yeah, being thrown into, and in the book of Adam and Eve, God actually describes, quotation marks, God actually describes Earth as a wretched place, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm like, we can all wax lyrical about how beautiful Earth is, and to us it is, but it after all, I mean, it was funny. The first sort of impression I got from the book was, oh, come on, Adam, grow up here, get something. I mean, he's constantly weeping, he's constantly smashing his breast and falling on the floor dead. He's both of them have committed suicide three times, I think. Nearly tried to do it a fourth time, and you're just like, oh, come on. And then you realise that this is only in the first 2 or 3 days, and they never experienced night before, so they were absolutely crapping themselves in the cave at night time, and they were like, thinking they were being burnt when the sun came up, and
yeah, when they thought that it was a beast coming to kill them, to attack them.
Yeah, that's right. But it's an interesting book anyway. But I can understand why it was banned, because literally the first paragraph describes a flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone can bring that up, but I'm sort of going on memory here, which is a bit fuzzy, as we know. But I as far as I can remember, literally the first chapter, the first paragraph, is describing flat Earth quite well.
Yeah, Zen Garcia, he does a lot of great analyzing of a lot of the books that have been removed from the Bible. And he goes into why and this and that. And
that's right. It's called the Apocrypha, is it? Called the Apocrypha or something, and then you've got what they're talking about here is, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. I wish I had it in front of me, but it's a really strange name for loads and loads of books that were taken out of the official Bible around about the time of, I'm sure someone knows it, and the Council of Nicaea, was it, or something? And they're not even part of the Apocrypha. They're part of something else, Apocryphy or something. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, there's a few of them. I'm just reading a book at the moment called The Forgotten Books of Eden, and it's got a lot of them in there. I think Jubilees and a few other things in there. But yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway, I'm not religious in any way whatsoever, shape or form.
Yeah, me neither. It's just I like to research and investigate, and
It's interesting. It's interesting
Yeah.
to know why and what other people think, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, excuse me.
And it's helpful to see things from both sides. I mean, how many ballers out there have read a flat Earth book? And I routinely challenge them on this on Twitter or whatever on a daily basis, and most of them say, well, I haven't. I watched numerous videos or something, and it's like, mate, there's like 19 million flat Earth videos out there. You watched a few videos, okay, and most of them were probably biased in favour of spinning ball Earth. It's just pointless. Yeah.
There's only one way to know for sure.
Here, I've got to pull up quick, John. Chapter 1 is titled "The Crystal Sea." God commands Adam, expelled from Eden, to live in the cave of treasures. On the third day, God planted the garden, and in the east of the earth, on the border of the world eastward, beyond which, toward the sun rising, one finds nothing but water that encompasses the whole world and reaches to the borders of heaven.
That's it.
And to the north of the garden, there is a sea of water, clear and pure to the taste, unlike anything else, so that through the clearness thereof one may look into the depths of the earth. And when the man washes himself in it, and becomes clean of cleanness thereof, and white in its whiteness, even if he were dark. Huh.
Interesting.
This is interesting. Little blood over intent action going on here.
Yeah, a bit of Aryan northern thing going on. But I've heard also from accounts and journals of sailors and things that I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of this actually, but that when you sail north, sometimes you'll come and go through pockets where you can, where you are literally sailing through potable water, drinkable water. I don't know if anyone's heard about that. I'm pretty sure it was in the sort of Yarlandahoy section of what was it?
Yeah, I think I have heard that.
North Pole, South Pole, 2 poles, or something along those lines. Jarl, something or other. I'm spitballing here, but yeah, there was something about, they were dying of thirst. Not Yarlandahoy, no, he's the berserker
yeah, I know what you're
guy.
talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It'll come to me later, but they were dying of thirst, cast adrift in a boat in the northern hemisphere, in the North Arctic, and they were surprised to find that the sea around them was drinkable, and it was like unbelievable. I thought, it just reminds me of that film, The Life of Pi, when it wouldn't even cross your mind to test the water outside your boat, and yeah, just blew me away, that did.
Yeah, what if him needing the water made it that way?
Yes.
Over mind over matter.
Again. Yeah.
I mean, how you doing, Walt? You all right, man?
I've been better. It's been a rough 3 days, so
Still feeling it?
yeah, just it comes and goes. I think having the headset on, pressing against that ear, probably isn't the best idea. So I took a little break. So I'll probably take another one. But I'm enjoying this. I'm glad you're here, brother. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you just don't. You look miserable, man. I feel bad for you. I'll send some good vibe your way.
Thank you. At least I'm not nauseated. Knock on everything. So it's just the head and the just not right, just off.
Looks like we lost Adam as well.
Yeah, he's wandered off somewhere, looks like.
Well, I'm probably about done here. It's been a shitty day, but it was nice to catch up with you guys. And
Everybody's had a rough day. Love you, John.
Yeah.
Sorry about all that, brother.
no worries, mate. No worries.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, no, it's been a nice uplift to the end of the day to be able to have a chat and talk to some like-minded people. And yeah, I'm going to spitball till Adam gets back, possibly. What you got coming up, Zach?
Well, we're going to be working on making a couple more of these videos with Gav and Glen and Chris. We're going to, Gav and Glen worked on a paper. I think it's 32 pages long. And we're going to go over it word for word. And it's going to explain everything. Why things get cut off, how they get cut off, when we can expect them to be cut off.
Have they got a website or anything? Have they got, I mean, Gav and Glen, yeah?
Yeah, Gavin, he's been on Dell's show quite a bit. He's got degrees in physics and mathematics. I mean, just super bright guy. Glenn,
I know Gavin,
really,
yeah.
Yeah, Vortex Puppy and, oh, I forget.
And this was your latest video with them, wasn't it?
Yeah. I should be, hopefully I'll be uploading it, the actual video here pretty soon. I just put a link to it. I thought I could download it straight off of YouTube once they put it up there, but that's not how the YouTube thing works. When you go to download it, it just makes it so you can watch it later. I can't download it like to my YouTube drive and then upload it myself to YouTube. It won't let me do that. So we're working on it. I should hopefully have it up there tonight. Tomorrow by the latest, hopefully. It should be on my channel as well.
We love you,
Just
YouTube.
Go to a browser and go to youtube.com. Just pull up the video link in the browser bar. And right after YouTube, but before the period, before the .com, just put in PP. So YouTubepp.com. And that should take you to a place that'll let you download the video for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Much obliged, Josh.
Before everybody heads out, our buddy Nuka-Cola there in chat wanted to know everybody's opinion on the upcoming space farce and wondering if we're all going to sign up and do our part. I'll do my part.
I was going to say hi to Kululeko there. I saw him in chat briefly. I don't know this space farce. Do you? Here's a curveball and a very naive and cheerleader curveball. Do you think it could possibly be a cover for creating a force that is militarized, ready to go, up and running? Everyone's calling it the Space Force, and then it turns into the Pedo Force. Just a something I'm throwing out there.
That's an interesting idea. They're going to take all these guys and then go start enforcing arrest warrants around the plane.
Well, if you're going to go arresting all the pedos and child traffickers, molesters, and all the generally shit and nasty people we don't really want around, not on this plane anyway, they can have another one. You don't want to call it the nasty pedo psycho force, do you?
Yeah, you're not going to get much funding there, probably. For some reason, I don't see So you're getting a lot of big money out of Washington or anything like that.
However, call it the Space Force, and sky's the limit.
Oh yeah.
Sky's the limit. Anyway, just a thought. It'd be nice. It'd be nice, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we can rely on these people though, John. It's great to have that hope, but I'm not putting any eggs in those baskets.
I agree. It's got to come from the people, the real people, us.
Once everybody has a garden and we don't need their genetically modified, all that nonsense that they sell us, and once we can make our own medicine, and once we can create our own power and fuel our own everything, once we can do that, then the money will be useless anymore. It will be nothing. We won't need it. We need to go back to 1850, where everybody took care of themselves. Just for a little while. Just for a little while.
2000 technology and solar panels and things like that.
Oh, it'd be so much easier.
Wow, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Imagine 1850s handing them 320 watt solar panels.
There would have never been a grid.
There should never have been a grid in the first place, really.
No, you're right.
As Tesla demonstrated wireless technology in, what was it, 1900 something. But
I'm going to do that before I die. You watch. I will figure all that out. You can't do it in the summertime around here though, because the humidity, even in the houses, like right now is, gosh, it's 80% humidity in the house and 100% outside. Oh, here, let me turn this on for you. Yeah, there's a little humidity dial down there. Yeah, 80%. You can't play with electricity when it's like that. You can, but it's no fun. You don't get shocked enough. The shock is too small.
It's good to see you're doing your homework there, mate.
Oh yeah.
Safety first.
It's always on my brain. Electricity, no matter what I'm thinking about, I'm always, because electricity is everything. It controls everything. Everything has to do with electricity. So I'm always analyzing what I'm thinking about, and then I throw on top of that, well, how does electricity play into this? How can I manipulate that maybe, or
It is the core constituent of everything, as far as I can see, is electricity or vibration. But even vibration is electricity, isn't it?
It governs this place.
Yeah, that's
in so many different forms. There's many forms of electricity, but it's all electric.
Boogie woogie.
Yeah. I love it. This whole flat earth thing has really changed everything about how I look at stuff. And I used to think, oh, well, Tesla was too smart, I can't do what he did. And I never even looked at it. I never even tried. I just assumed, rocket science is too advanced and all this, everything is too hard.
It's pretty hard, though. It's pretty hard to know what Tesla did in any sense, because none of his research is really available, is it? It was all seized by the FBI.
No, but I think it's so simple. Everybody tries to make it so hard.
I agree.
I think I already know how to do. I mean, I pulled a current from the air. I just have to do that on a much grander scale.
Cue Adam. You did that as well.
Yeah, it's not hard. You just have to, and it's just basic science, just how it's basic electricity, how it works in nature. That's not even using capacitors and all the resistors and all the transistors, and I'm not going to use a transistor. I'm using a spark gap.
I think essentially what you're saying is right, is that it is literally everything has been made complicated.
Yeah, they've made it complicated so we don't just figure out how easy it actually is. It's so simple.
And I think we've got a lot of head slaps, palm slaps to come when we realise, simple things like water and magnetism and all these other things, gyroscopes, are just a head slap. And how did I miss that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Plenty more. That's what I love about it. Is I know I'm not done learning yet. Tomorrow I'm going to learn something new. That's the greatest part about all this. Because even that day that I go to walk out to the woods to sit in my tree and perch my hand up, pointing that way, off into nothing, just so some idiot goes and digs a hole over there thinking there's a treasure or something. But the day I go to do that will be the day that I say, okay, I'm done learning. Yeah, no, there's always something more to learn. I thought we had it all figured out when I was naive idiot living on a ball. And now I know we don't know anything. I've probably forgotten more than I know right now. From being a little child knows more than we do.
I think that's the best way to be perfectly honest.
Exactly.
Forgetting everything you've ever been taught and learning from your kids. It's like, are you spinning? Are you on a ball? How can you possibly be on a ball? They tell us. Animals know we're not on a freaking spinning ball. We're just in a religion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no proof of it. And we were just shown images and diagrams and models and mathematics that made it all appear like that's what was happening. But I never took the time to actually verify that what they were telling me was actually what was going on. And it's crazy because the more you learn, the more they teach you, the more it really falls apart. You learn about all this stuff and you find out, well, that wasn't right. It actually does this, and this kind of doesn't make sense in the heliocentric model. But we'll just write a 0 in there instead of the negative, and then it'll all work out fine. And these are what the advanced people are doing. They see this and they see that they measure, that the star moved backwards this time. It's like, what? Wait a minute. If the Earth is spinning this way, then how's the star going that way too? It shouldn't. It should be going the opposite way that the Earth's spinning always. And it moved back a lot. It moved back like way more than it usually moves this way, kind of resetting itself every few years. And these are supposed to be the people that are, the smart ones. And they see this and they learn to, okay, we see a negative, but we're just going to mark it as a 0 in the book. Like, wouldn't you know you're lying right there? Wouldn't you just be like, hey, wait a minute, why are we marking this as a 0? We need to go say something to somebody about this. Something's not right here. Or do you just keep collecting the paycheck and write in your 0? It's all a choice. It is. It's all a choice.
It's like the gravitational constant, isn't it? When that guy, can't remember his name now, Rupert or Sheldrake, was questioning the constant of gravity, and was talking to someone who holds the constant of gravity figure, and he was sort of saying, but how come it's changed? And he's like, yeah, you're not meant to notice that little bit there. It's changed, yes, but you're not meant to notice it. We've fixed that. We've published it. We fixed it. And he's like, how did you fix it? Well, we defined the gravitational constant. So it's now a fixed number, even though it's been shown to vary. I'm wittering now, sorry, so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, It's nothing can be believed at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's a show, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are aware of it, but just want to keep their paycheck. And that's, I don't know. To me, that's kind of sad.
I think that what John, I think there's a few bits wrong there, isn't it? Rupert Sheldrake and the speed of light as opposed to gravity. But it alludes to what you were saying. You can't trust history. Well, actually, you can't trust science by that definition. You know, it was noticed scientifically that the speed of light was varying. Is it speed of light, John, or G? I can't, honestly, it's bugging me whichever it was, anyway.
Yeah, it could be the speed of light.
I can't remember.
I don't know. You got me thinking there.
Yeah, but the point of it was that it was noticeably variable, and they changed it, didn't they? So that it became they just fixed it.
Well, the point
so it didn't
was
matter what you read.
It was called a constant, and it just literally wasn't constant. So in the end, they legislated that it was this constant, and that was it. And that's what made it to all the textbooks and everything else from then on in, unless someone came back and said, sorry, how did that become a constant? Which Sheldrake did. Yeah, I don't know if it was gravity or speed of light or either. It really doesn't matter.
These actually some really pertinent, you know, with Nathan's stuff in terms of some of the other stuff he does in terms of scientism and that. Some of Rupert Sheldrake's pointing out, is it the 10 fallacies of science or something? It's old, oh man, it's one of them old TED Talks, isn't it, and that. But that's really good, John. It might be worth revisiting that, you know. That's a good old school shout.
I've been doing my research on tobacco.
Oh, yeah.
I have a book here from 1857, I think. It's called Chemistry of Common Life by, what's his name? Johnston, something Johnston. You would like this book a lot, Adam.
I'm listening.
James F. Johnston. MAFRS, those are the letters he has behind his name. And then it says, etc., etc. Author of lectures on agricultural chemistry and geology, Catechism of Agricultural Chemistry and Geology. This is the 9th edition, volume 2. Yeah, it's neat.
What's it say about tobacco?
It says it's been used forever. It goes into a lot about how much 30 million pounds was used back in the United Kingdoms alone. Let's see. In 1851, it was 28 million pounds. 1852, 28 million. 1853, 29. It said the oil was used of tobacco even more than opium.
It's a poison, isn't it? You can poison someone with tobacco oil or even tobacco water. It's really
most medicine is poison.
Nicotine.
Most medicine is poison. Yeah, a teaspoon of nicotine, pure nicotine, they use it as pesticides in growing things. So yeah, it will kill you big time. But so will water. You know.
Yeah, these are all narcotics. These are all narcotics. So yeah, every one of these. Well, they say hemp is in here as well. I guess hemp could kill you. You know, too much of it.
I think it.
No, never been noted. No, that's nonsense. When we,
no, it has killed. It has killed one person.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'll come. I'll come to that. Okay. I obviously part of our research was go away and find all the known stuff and research class A, B, C, and D. and there was nothing in terms of death attributed directly to cannabis. The only death we found attributed to cannabis was somebody that had eaten so much and their stomach stuff had been overridden through the munchies that their stomach lining had ruptured through the amount of food and they bled internally.
Well,
So
I found another one.
Go on, man.
A guy who was killed by hemp, a bale of hemp being craned off a ship on the dockside, and it landed on his head and killed him flat out. That means there's an LD 50 for hemp, so it needs to be legalized right now.
Oh, where did I hit something? I don't want to mark the book.
I mark all my books. I turn all the corners over. I'll underline it in pencil if I had a pencil in the toilet. But yeah, I've got no problem marking books. In fact, I loved it because I bought a second-hand book recently, and whilst turning over the corners of it, it already had an engraving in there where someone had turned over the corner, so I knew someone had read that book and turned over the page on that page, and I just thought, yeah, that's cool.
It does say that both Dr. Pereira and Dr. Christensen, in his treatise on poisons, agree that no well-ascertained ill effects have been shown to result from the habitual practice of smoking. They say when you do the snuff, bad things happen, and the chew, bad things can happen.
But nothing from smoking.
Nothing. And then Dr. Prout, an excellent chemist and a physician of extensive medical experience, whom all his scientific contemporaries held in much esteem, was of a different opinion. But even he expressed himself obscurely as to its being generally deleterious when moderately indulged in.
They
use a lot of different words.
All I'd say is anyone who wants the latest sort of relevant data analysis from peer-reviewed studies, etc., then pick up a copy of The Benefits of Tobacco by Dr. Douglas. And have a read and see if you can debunk it. It's copiously referenced. Half the book is references to peer-reviewed studies, double-blind studies, you name it. It's hard to dispute. That's where I'd say take a look at.
And then it's really neat. It gets into the volatile oils, the volatile alkali, the empyromatic oil, and how to. Yeah, this is a really neat book.
So it's implying this again with like the cannabinoids. It's implying that are a different says they're volatile, different compounds, certainly that would indicate different medicinal benefits as opposed to the straightforward stimulant effect that you just get from overload of nicotine, nicotinic receptors.
I think the important thing is that if you grow tobacco and harvest it and cure it and smoke it and do anything else with it, make infusions with it, tinctures with it, etc., it has a positive effect on you in numerous ways. If you chop it down, mix it up with 101 different industrial waste products, toxins, and bullshit, and stuff it in a nice bleached white paper wrapper with a nice fiberglass or asbestos filter, and sell it at 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the price, then that is somehow the same. I think you're comparing apples and oranges all the way along here. Cigarettes are not herbal tobacco, is my point.
You're gonna love this, John. Can I read this to you guys real quick? Not too long.
Go for it.
Maybe.
Yes, please.
The volatile oil. When the leaves of tobacco are mixed with water and submitted to distillation, a volatile oil or fat comes over in small quantity. This fatty substance congeals or becomes solid and floats on the surface of the water which distills over along with it. It has the odor of tobacco and possesses a bitter taste. On the mouth and throat, it produces a sensation similar to that caused by tobacco smoke. When applied to the nose, it occasions sneezing, and when taken internally, it gives rise to giddiness, nausea, and an inclination to vomit. It is evidently one of the ingredients, therefore, to which the usual effects of tobacco are owing, and yet it is remarkable that from a pound of leaves, only 2 grains of this fatty body are obtained by distillation. Upon such minute quantities of chemical ingredients do the peculiar actions and sensible properties of some of our most powerful medicinal agents depend.
Wow, like it.
So that's awesome, isn't it? That's saying that there is the lighter terpenes that you can get through just straightforward water vapor distillation. I suppose it's a bit like that stuff that James likes, that where you use the vacuum chamber to kind of put it into a crystalline structure, a shatter, where you take the really high terpene cannabinoids and you have to crystallize them, otherwise they just evaporate otherwise. And that's kind of what it's saying is they're doing there. You're kind of taking the...
Wow, it tells you how to make nicotine in here as well. When the leaves are infused in water made slightly sour by sulfuric acid, and the infusion is subsequently distilled with quicklime, there comes over mixed with the water a small quantity of a volatile, oily, colorless alkali liquid, which is heavier than water, and to which the name of nicotine has been given.
What's that book you're reading from?
This is Chemistry of Common Life, Volume 2. I forget the guy's name again. James F. Johnston.
Cool. I love these.
Yeah, it's an
books.
old one. I got it for $20 at this antique bookstore. Yeah, number 306, $20. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, this bookstore. I've asked for some books on astronomy. I wanted to see what they thought like a couple hundred years ago, but they wanted like $250, $300 for some of these books. One of them was handwritten. But I'm not going to pay that much money for something I don't believe in. You know, if it was like alchemy and it was written by some, okay, that'd be different. But astronomy, no, I'm not shelling out $300 to go debunk something.
No, and you'll quite often find that these things are beyond your sort of scope of purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not Adams, but...
Gav told me to buy a book. There's a book we were talking about in there. Oh, sorry. I wrote it down somewhere. I got to buy this book. The cheapest one I can find is like $45 though for a paperback.
Maybe Ace is listening right now still.
probably in here somewhere. I'll find it. But he reads a couple passages of it in that video that I got to be a part of. And this guy was smart. He was the first guy to distinguish between what we are seeing and the actual tangible object. How our brain goes right to like if you're looking at your table in your room and, someone asks you what shape is that table, you're probably going to say like, it's a rectangle. You're thinking of the actual shape of the top of the table, right? But in actuality, it all depends on where you are in that room, what angle you're looking at that table. It could be whatever, at an angle like this and slanted, and it just all depends.
Like
Unless you're hovering over it on the ceiling, it's never going to be a rectangle. It'll only ever be a trapezoid or parallelogram or whatever.
Yeah, it'll have a different shape.
Twisted.
And
because it's going to be subject to perspective.
Yeah, and we never attend to that perspective. We automatically attend to the tangible object itself and just apply it to that automatically. We never take the time to look at what's actually happening to the object in our visual. Am I making sense? We have to really differentiate between the two different worlds when we're applying mathematics to them.
Absolutely making sense, yeah.
Because it's two totally different realms.
Your eyes see one thing, and your brain doesn't. Your brain kind of transposes that image and makes sense of it for you to deal with. Now,
hey guys,
squares.
I just sent a video to Skype here. It kind of is touching on what you were just talking about. I had just watched this days ago about shapes and different viewing angles. I don't know who can present it best. Probably not my system right now, but it's really crazy. Go check it out. Show it to people. It's speaking exactly about that, Zach.
What's that? A link in Skype?
In Skype here.
Okay, I can play that.
If so, why not try starting your day with a little bit of a twist with the all-new Squircle mug?
What was that?
Oh, that was it. Sorry, it was. I was getting it pulled up. I didn't realize. Turned up on my. Let me go ahead and pop it over so I can share it.
Do you guys have this by you, Josh or Walt? Langers?
Doesn't look familiar, but.
Wait, what was it? I missed it. Langers?
Langers.
No.
What a logo looks like. No high fructose corn syrup.
Oh,
GMO
wait.
Free.
I think they make cranberry juice, right?
Yeah, they make
they are around in our area. It's just not at every store. It's more, I have to go like Lafayette to get it.
They do pineapple juice. That's why I started getting it, because I love pineapple juice with the pulp in it and all that good stuff. But yeah, I love this stuff. I just found it, and it's really not that expensive. It's pretty cheap. BPA free. I mean, the whole bottle just screams, "Drink me, Zach." I'm okay, because I'm so self-conscious about what I'm putting into my body anymore, or even on my body, that all the things I used to love, I don't even consume anymore. I don't know, in one way it stinks, but in another way, I feel so much better. I don't get the sniffles or anything like that nearly as much as I do. And when I do, I don't take, poison to try to fix it. I'll just go and grab some herb and be all better.
I've had a craving this week, like a pregnant woman, for strawberries. See, I'm eating them again.
Yeah, every night I've been having a big giant blender shake of just fruit. I always do an orange, half a banana, usually some pineapple that I cut up, some big giant chunks, and then I've been picking berries. The blackberries are coming in; they're starting to turn, and some of the raspberries, depending on how much light they've been getting. Any day, though, it's going to start turning like crazy. By beginning of July, it's going to be awesome. We're going to have yeah. I'll show you how to make some preserve, Josh.
That'd be nice. I don't really have any fruit around here. I mean, aside tomatoes, I guess we count those as fruit, but I tried
That's cheating.
What'd you say, Zach?
I said it's still a good thing to know.
It is still a good thing to know, but you're right, Adam. It is cheating. We tried blueberries. For some reason, we couldn't get blueberries to hold.
I can't. I couldn't get them.
Really, that's all we've tried. Well, I guess melons. We had some cantaloupe, but we've got a groundhog the size of a Great Dane that came through and just decimated my cantaloupes last year. So we're not even trying it this year because we see how fat it made them last year. I don't know how to get rid of it. Short of a gun that I'm never going to use on a groundhog.
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Explain this properly for me, Josh. It's getting late.
Don't know that I could. Walt says it's 53 seconds and it doesn't need any sound.
What?
56, but I need sound. This is
A little more complex.
Oh, wait a minute. How is this stuff changing in his hand?
Because he's got a mirror behind it, which shows the different viewing angle. And because it's printed with weird wavy tops and edges and angles, you have these different viewing angles. Now, I think on this video, I picked the wrong one. On this one, he explains how he printed them, and it gets really complicated. I just wanted you to see the shapes and the changes. There's actually quite a few of these out there on YouTube, a lot of these videos with these weird shapes.
ambiguous
Yeah,
cylinders.
it did its job.
Interesting.
I'll show you how I actually made the shape. So here's the ambiguous cylinder in its simplest form. But I played around with the file and made a few variations. Here's a square peg fitting into a round hole with no gaps. And here's another one where the reflection apparently doesn't mirror the image. From one angle, these shapes look identical, but the one on the left has an extra hidden ring in the middle. These rings all interconnect, but the squares are just side by side. And here's another one that's just a little more complex. It's a super convincing illusion. And all this variety comes from one simple shape. And I like to call that shape the squircle.
Of course you do.
Adobe Illustrator first. And the reason I use Illustrator is because it has this blend tool, which generates the transitional shapes between two paths. Sometimes it's a little finicky, so on this one I had to rotate the square to get it to work. But in the end, it did its job, and I've got a really nice looking squircle right there. So I'm going to expand those paths, ungroup it, and then select just the squircle. And then I'm going to export that as a DXF, so I can open it in SolidWorks.
You have a 3D printer?
In SolidWorks, I open up a new part, and then I select the top plane and insert a DXF drawing. So I select that file I made, and I bring it in with the DXF command box. So now I've got that very important shape in SolidWorks. First, I give the shape some dimension, and I just chose 30 millimeters because I think it's a good size for a kind of little trinket illusion like this. Then I use the sketch offset tool to create a 2 millimeter thick wall, which I can extrude. And I just extrude that 40 millimeters for now, although I can really make it as tall or short as I want it. I'm going to open a sketch on the right plane so I can create that wavy cutout that makes this illusion work. I create a center line from the origin so that I can split this in. Then I made a spline with 3 points so that I could easily create this wavy shape. I box that off, and then I use the extrude cut feature to cut away that shape. Now I can preview the effect within SolidWorks, and I can actually turn on perspective too, to get an idea of what it'll look like in real life. So just eyeballing the wave, I already got it to be a pretty effective illusion. But I did go back into the sketch to play around with that curve, to see if I can make the illusion work even better. And I actually ended up deleting that spline and replacing it with arcs. And that makes it really easy for me to adjust the curves. So once I figured out a 15mm radius worked the best, I set that dimension and committed to the cut. However, you might notice that the illusion is still a little bit off. The top edge of the cylinder seems to fluctuate in thickness, but we want it to look consistent all the way around. At first I tried to do a cut sweep around the top edge, just to make everything flat, but SolidWorks was going kind of crazy. So I ended up using a loft cut by drawing several squares along the top edge of this shape. I loft between the profiles, using the edges of the cylinder as a guide for the cut.